Hello and welcome to another edition of Resource PNG. In this edition, we get to meet the Asian Development Bank's new country director, Marcelo Mink. We also have a story about the Marengo Mining Limited's Yandre project and a report on the work at the Lae Port. To start off, here is an interview I did earlier with the Asian Development Bank's country director, Marcelo Mink. Good evening. Tonight we're joined by the Asian Development Country Director, Mr. Marcelo Mink, to talk about what the Asian Development Bank is doing in Papua New Guinea. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, it's good to be here.
So tell us, Mr. Mink, what is the portfolio that you have here in the country and what kind of projects are you working on?
ADB is assisting the Papua New Guinea government through a number of different activities. We have loans, we have grants, we have technical assistance projects. We also have private sector investment loans and private sector equity participation. Now, the overall portfolio of ADB is $800 million US, about that on all these activities. Of course, also in terms of projects, there is a government counterpart that accompanies most of these activities. And mainly the sectors we are working on are infrastructure, particularly transport, which is about 80% of the portfolio. And within transport, we look at surface transport, roads, road improvement. We look at ports, Lae Port, for example. We also have a civil aviation project. And we also look at community water transport. That's mainly in the transport sector. We also have activities in energy. Also, we have activities in microfinance and in the health sector. That's mainly the sectors where we are working together with Papua New Guinea.
Thank you. Now, the Asian Development Bank basically focuses on decreasing poverty in Asia and the Pacific, focusing on several different things like economic growth, environmental sustainable growth, and regional integration. Now, you mentioned the Lae port development. Now, obviously that's a great advantage because they have a lot of traffic going in and out of there, and if you had a crowded port, that might be an issue for a foreign investor. So what can you say about that project? Where exactly is it now in this time frame?
Okay. Basically, I think you mentioned the right things. We do not want a crowded port, not only because it does not attract private sector, but also does not allow the economic activities of the country to be exported mainly. Now, recently we had the contract approved, the main contract approved for the Lae Port, and in fact, the contractors are already mobilizing. Now, what we're going to do there is add port facilities, so to avoid or to prevent the port to be congested. At the same time, the efficiency of the existing facilities is being increased. So we expect that by project's end, this will alleviate the congestion and will allow exports to go out of the country in a prompt manner. And will also, as you mentioned, will attract private sector to to also maybe operate the port facilities in the future in the form of concessions. That could be one of the options. That will also increase the efficiency and the cost recovery of the port.
Stay with us. We shall be back after this break. Thank you for staying with us. The Asian Development Bank has funded a number of projects in PNG. Here is the second half of that interview I did with the ADB's country director, Marcelo Mink. The Asian Development Bank is also assisting Papua New Guinea in this electricity services. Now, it's reported that it's about $120 million put into it. Which provinces will be targeted and why were these provinces selected?
Yes. The loan size is about $120 million US. However, the project size is about $150 million US. Now, the idea of this project is to replace low efficiency diesel turbines by more renewable or more environmentally sustainable energy sources like hydropower. We also have a transmission line, and the target of this project is, as I would say, isolated provincial centers,
Right.
Such as in Northern Province and in Bougainville. So
Okay.
that is the target of the project.
Right. Now, in Papua New Guinea, we have land transport has suffered a lot, bridges and roads. I believe the Asian Development Bank has the Highlands Regional Road Improvement Project, as well as the bridge replacement for improved rural access. Are you able to describe what these works are and
Yes.
what the major achievements have been so far?
We are involved in the Highlands region for over 10 years now. Now the idea of these improvement projects are to bring up the roads to the point that then can be maintained.
Right.
So basically what we're doing is mainly rehabilitation. We are not doing new construction, new alignments. All the alignments are existing. In some cases, probably a bit of even reconstruction, and mainly rehabilitation. So the idea is that if we can bring the roads to the point that can be maintained, then not only will provide access to the local populations, to the Highlands Highway,
Yes.
to health facilities, to also education, through access to schools, and also economic activities. So they will be able to send their produce to the markets through having these roads in a better condition. So this is what we do mainly, and we have been doing this for about 10 years in the Highlands region. Now regarding the bridge replacement project, the way we are assisting the government is by replacing Bailey bridges, which is a type of bridge that can be moved,
Yes.
through more permanent structures, and then using those Bailey bridges in areas or in roads which basically are cut off and they need an urgent need of the bridge.
Sounds
This
like
is what we are doing.
that's like a lot of very good work.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm new in the country. I have the position for about a month, and I want to continue the good work that ADB is doing here and continue the partnership with the other donors and mainly with the PNG and with the people of PNG and the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ming, for your time.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We shall have more of Resource PNG when we return. Welcome back. Knowing that PNG is experiencing a resource boom, the government is making sure that we have the facilities to cater for the influx that will come with it. One such facility is the Lae Port. That port will undergo a major facelift over the coming months.
Transporting tons of heavy equipment that has a massive weight without much damage from one continent to another is something that can be easily done via shipment. And with an everyday cycle of imports and exports for a world market and current developments taking place, a country definitely needs a facility that can cater for all this. Improving Lae Port is a current development need, and the overall project is a high priority of the government. It is being overseen on behalf of the government by the Independent Public Business Corporation.
To IPBC, it is a matter of some pride that we are able to welcome you this morning. The Lae Port Tidal Basin project has had a long gestation, and today is the culmination of a lot of hard work over the last 3 years by a wide variety of people from multitude of backgrounds coming together for a common purpose. The IPBC, or Independent Public Business Corporation, as the representative of the state, has been the organization charged with pulling this project together, and I thank each and every one of you for your assistance and cooperation.
To date, Lae Port is PNG's largest, busiest and most important port. a gateway that links world markets with PNG. Ley Port cannot meet current demands of the many large regional projects, such as the PNG LNG project, and therefore is becoming an obstruction in the economic growth of the Momase Highlands region.
Ley Port is the most important port in Papua New Guinea, accounting for 60% of the nation's international trade.
On the 15th March 2012, the Minister for Public Enterprises, Semekere Morauta, announced that the NEC, National Executive Council, had endorsed the awarding of a 780 million kina contract to China Harbour Engineering Company Limited for a major expansion and redevelopment of the Ley Port.
The China Harbour Engineering Company are construction contractors that was awarded the tender. Korean Engineering Consultant Corporation, our consultant engineers that will work with IPBC and PNG Ports technical team.
The China Engineering Company was chosen by NEC as it was the lowest bidder for the contract through an international competitive tender. According to Semekere Morauta, China Harbour won the bid on its strong technical expertise, its experience in building similar and much larger projects, not just in China, but throughout Asia, and on price. In return, the contractors has agreed to employ as many local workers as possible and make the use of local contractors an absolute priority. The Ley Port project is funded 70% by the Asian Development Bank and 30% by the national government.
I also take this opportunity to thank the Asian Development Bank, which is financing 70% of the cost of construction, 800 million kina. The fact that ADB is a joint financier gives the government the confidence that the contractors and their ability to complete this project successfully.
The main element of the project is to construct new port facilities, which will include a tidal basin, a berth, and a terminal. The tidal basin technically is a body of water in an area subject to tides whose level is maintained at the desired level by artificial means. This will be 700 by 400 meters and will be located northwest of the present port facility with a dug-up depth of 13 meters below sea level. The multipurpose berth, technically a space for ship to dock or anchor, is 240 meters long and 45 to 50 meters wide. Both the tidal basin and the berth is designed to accommodate vessels with an overall length of 200 meters, beam of 32.2 meters, and fully loaded drafts of 12 meters. And the terminal works will include all buildings, storage areas, roads, drainage, water, electricity, and sewage services. In order to keep the project rolling, the National Executive Council on the 17th May 2012 approved the adoption of immigration and custom processes for the 780 million kina Ley Port project, which means that the project will go ahead under the similar procedures laid down for the PNG LNG project at the Department of Labour and Industry and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Immigration. Semekere stated that NEC's decision recognized that the project was of special significance both nationally and within Highlands Momase regions, and by applying a similar process approved for PNG LNG, we can cut red tape and fast-track work. Covered under this arrangement will be the Construction Supervision Consultant, Korean Engineering Consultant Corporation, and the Civil Works Contractor, China Harbour Engineering Company. According to the NEC, this also means that the equipment brought in temporarily under duty-free arrangements can remain in PNG for the full 3 years of construction. IPBC also oversaw, as part of this project, the relocation and livelihood and social improvement of about 3,200 people of the Soda settlement, and this took place between December 2009 and January 2010.
Then there are domestic partners, the Morobe provincial government, and the leyland owners on whose land we are holding this ceremony. Of course, I would like to thank the National Executive Council and especially our minister.
According to the Supplementary Resettlement Implementation Report, the government financed the repatriation worth about 26.9 million kina in September 2009. According to sources, more than 1,600 were repatriated to almost 16 provinces in PNG, to areas such as Angaram in East Sepik and the Highlands region. About 1,500 chose to stay back in Leh for various reasons, such as better services available or for the education of their children. The table highlights the current resettlement of those repatriated from the now Leh Port project area. This redevelopment and expansion of the port will help lower the cost of taking goods to local and international markets, as well as reducing the transport cost of imports. It will also help create employment for local people, including as sailors, port laborers, drivers and equipment operators, and office staff in port agencies and transport companies. And since the port accounts for more than 60% of Papua New Guinea trade, the completion of the project will have a beneficial impact on our national competitiveness and will help limit increases in the price of goods and services across the Momose Highlands region.
In the longer term, I believe flow-on industrial and commercial development resulting from this project can add several hundred jobs. It gives me great satisfaction to see that our government's efforts to ensure local participation have borne fruit already. Local contractors and landowners have been employed to prepare the site we are today. This also includes the hire of local equipment.
Sam Makara added that this port, along with the Wafi gold mine and other projects in the pipeline, will transform Leh. IPBC expects the project to be completed in 2015.
That was a report on the Leh Port. After the break, we take a look at what Marengo Mining Limited is doing at their Yandra project. That story after the break. Exploration at Yandra in the highlands of Madang happened in the 1950s. Marengo Mining took over the project within the last decade. Resource PNG paid them a visit and got a first-hand look at how things are going. Let's take a look. The exploration project of interest in this story is Marengo Mining Limited's Yandra project. The site itself is a 20-minute chopper flight southwest of Madang town. Short as it is, the flight is not disappointing. As the chopper rises over the tropical humidity of the town of Madang and heads southwest, you notice a change in the air. The slow approach of the Adelbert Range, and you get the first taste of the mountain air, cool and crisp. We go past the range, and below opens this expanse that is the Ramo Valley. And beyond that is the mountain green of the Bismarck Range that stretches across the horizon. As we hover over this mountain range of highland tropical rainforest, the only thought that comes to mind is, how in the world did the early prospectors make it up this far? How did they know where to look despite not having today's technology? What are left of those early days of prospecting are trenches that can be found all over the Yandra area. An example of this trenches is one found in Omra. On this mountaintop, you can just imagine how much physical work had to go into making a trough this big. The men of Yandra worked with the exploration company to dig these trenches. After World War II, the Australian Bureau of Mineral Resources, or BMR for short, gave the territory of Papua and New Guinea much assistance between 1948 and 1972. Geologists from BMR discovered Yandra's copper molybdenum porphyry in the late 1950s. Around the same time, they also discovered the Ramoniko deposit as well as the Frida porphyry copper-gold system.
We're standing on Amora, which is the third ore body, if you want to call it that. So we have the main ore bodies, which are Grammy, Imbraminda and Amora. And we're looking at the Imbraminda part of it at the moment. Yandra mineralisation was discovered in the 1950s, and in the late 60s Kennecott Exploration came in and did the trenches, and they drilled 10 holes in the area, and they found mineralisation. That was followed by a joint venture with the Amdex joint venture, which was led by BHP in the late 70s and early 80s, and they drilled 100 holes, or 90 holes actually, plus the Kennecott holes, which makes 100 and something. Yeah, they did a lot of drilling around here and proved up the basic ore body. In those days, in the early 80s, it was deemed not to be economic, and BHP moved to Octedi. When they got involved in Octedi, they dropped Yandra and went across to Octedi. And from 1982, there was no further drilling at Yandra until Marengo came in, and we started drilling in 2006.
A company called Kennecott Exploration did drilling work in the area in the 1960s. That was followed by BHP Limited with a joint venture partner. Altogether, the amount that these companies spent on exploration was about 43 million kina. When Kennecott was in the area, they took 3 miners from Yandra to the Octedi site. One of these men was James Tuma, a local who worked as a camp manager at Yandra in the early 1980s. The people that occupy the Yandra area are called the Gende people. And being that the Gende people have had an extensive involvement with the exploration, the wife of one of those 3 miners now works as a wash lady at the project site. Marengo Mining Limited started exploration in this area about 2002, and they have found substantial amounts of copper and gold and molybdenum. If you visit this area, there are several drill sites all over this ridge. The purpose of this is to increase investor confidence in the deposit. This process has certainly assisted the company in this regard. Marengo took over the project in 2005, and since then, there has been extensive work done. Their exploration office and camp and core sampling is located near Yandra village. So where is this project at now? The company is working on its feasibility studies. That is something they want to focus on providing for this year.
That's right. The feasibility study will be completed within a couple of months. There are some fine-tuning and some areas where we've made some changes in the layout of the project, so they need some completion, but fairly soon in the scheme of things. While that's running, in parallel to that, we have the environmental work underway to complete the environmental impact statement, or the EIS, and that will be filed with the government in Papua New Guinea around about the September period. And running in parallel with both of those is another cost estimate being completed on the project development by one of the Chinese state-owned enterprises, China Non-Ferrous Engineering, and that is part of the arrangements that we have with China Non-Ferrous, or NFC, for the project development and financing. So there's quite a lot happening, and it's all coming together by the end of this calendar year.
If this project turns into a mine, it is proposed that they will fill up a valley with rock waste that is produced by the mine. Here is Marengo Mining Limited's project manager, Peter Dindal, to explain that idea.
It's a critical part of any mining operation is the waste rock. It can be quite expensive to move it, and so obviously you want to get it as close to the ore body as possible. The Tyre River valley there has been deemed suitable by the engineers. We've done a lot of geotechnical work in there now, so it looks fine, and the waste rock will be put in there. The tailings for the operation will be behind the waste rock dump, so it will be a tailings dam with a difference, which will be much more stable, and it'll be engineered to be absolutely as safe as possible for a tailings containment area. Well, the estimate for the initial, say, 20-year life of the mine would be, you're probably looking at 1 billion tonnes, so it'll be quite a large amount of rock in there.
We shall be back with more. Don't go away. You're watching Resource PNG. Let's have a look at more of that story on the Yandra project in Madang. To get an estimate on how much ore there is in a certain place, a core sample needs to be extracted. This is usually done by drilling holes into the earth to extract what looks like a cylindrical section, which gives an idea of the layers below this particular spot. From those samples, scientists can then analyze how much minerals there are in the ground. The Frog Camp laboratory is the place where the core samples are primarily processed. It is called Frog Camp because of a nearby river called the Tumuan Nongoy, which means frog river in the local tongue. The laboratory is under the direction of senior geologist Siam Papua. Drill rigs are set up all over the exploration area to collect core samples. The geologists and field technicians catalog these core samples that are then taken back to the laboratory. In plain words, they sample a whole lot of dirt and rock that have been dug up. The laboratory is run by Intertech employees. When these core samples are taken out of the ground, they are stored in core trays. Then when they come to the camp laboratory, the technicians and assistants brush these samples with water. This simple process rids the core's exterior of dust and allows the observer to clearly see the core sample surface. This is then photographed. The core sample is later cut in half, but in order to be analyzed for traces of metals, the core samples have to be crushed into tiny pieces. We asked Frog Camp's laboratory supervisor, Jeffrey Moses, to explain how this process takes place.
From the core shed, when we receive the samples, they are raw, they are wet. So we have to dry the samples. So we normally put them in the oven, get them on trays and then put them in the oven and then they're dried in there. Normally it takes around 19 to 24 hours to get the sample dried. So after they dry in, and we do it on a crusher. We get the dry weights from the wet weights. We get the dry weights after the oven, and then we 5 mil crush it. We 5 mil crush the drill cores, and then we further crush it down to 2 mil crusher, and then from the 2 mil crusher we go to the splitter. The client wants 1.5 kilogram of that sample, the representative of that sample assayed. So what we do, we refill split it. Refill split is the manual splitter, and the electric operated one is the electrical splitter. So we get the 10 kilo or whatever sample kilogram in there, and then split it down to 1.5 kilo, and that's the part to be sent down to lab to be further assayed. The rejects of the 1.5, say if it's a 10 kilo and it's been splitted off, say the 8.5 kilo is kept as a reject, splitted reject. So for later use, probably say if the client wants further assayed of the same number, we'll go to the same rejects and then retrieve again and then do the whole process again. We receive around 100 to 200 in between those, the number of samples, and then we do it. Say if the oven takes the whole day of 19 to 24 hours, then the next day is crushings and the completion probably the other day. So it's 3 days. So we probably do 3 days turnaround and then we send it down to lab. Further 2 days assays and give back the results around the 7th day. So it takes around 1 week to give back the result to the client.
Half of the sample is stored by the company while the other half is sent out for analysis. When these samples get to other laboratories for testing, they're grounded down further to about 75 micromillimeters, which is almost dust, and are tested for gold and other metals like copper and molybdenum. The reason for grounding these core samples is to increase its surface area so that chemical reactions can take place faster and easier. The geologists certainly got their work cut out for them, and with the new exploration projects coming up in PNG, there is a high demand for more geologists. The University of Papua New Guinea reports that they have about 25 geology graduates per year. One of these graduates is senior geologist Michael Tangwari, who has been with the company for 4 years. He told us what goes on in the day-to-day life of a geologist.
My role as a geologist up at the Yandra project is basically doing geological work. That includes supervising of drill rigs, doing regional exploration work, and interpretation of data, as well as proposing new drill targets. We have completed most of our resource infill drilling around the Yandra deposit, and we are now focusing more on the regional exploration side of the project.
And the work of the geology team is still ongoing as they have to get a clear picture of how much ore they have below the surface of the earth.
Well, the work that we're doing here is to drive the project to the point where we have we have identified sufficient material in the ground that we can use this to open one of the next mines in Papua New Guinea. That's our entire drive. We've started to look at more regional areas. These are very, very proximal to the Yandra central deposit itself, and our view there is in line with many deposits of this nature. If we can find those little bodies that are sitting off to the side, then they can have a profound effect on the overall project viability. So that's the aim and the drive of our work at this moment in time. That's on the local scale. On the regional scale, Marengo has quite a considerable tenement holding along the mountain chain from here, and we're in the process of assessing target areas along that mountain belt. Perhaps there's hiding something else of great interest out there for us to start working on in the future.
They also have to ensure that the area that they plan to use as a dump site for rock waste is able to tolerate the load.
Well, they're doing the geotechnical investigation. You've got to ensure that the bedrock down there is capable of supporting the amount of waste you're going to put there without any failures in the rock underneath. Yeah.
So we asked their managing director, Les Emery, about what his company is looking at for the rest of the year.
Our timeline for a project of this size is quite rapid. We are planning, having completed the application for the special mining lease, filed our environmental impact statement, both of those occurring towards in the September quarter. By the end of the year, the fixed price contract from China Non-Ferrous quote will be with us, and we would expect to be signing that contract, which in turn triggers our approaches to Chinese financing, Chinese bank funding, and that's a critical aspect for this project. It's a project which will be in around $2 billion and hopefully a bit less, 2 billion Aussie. So it's a significant project for a small company to develop, but we've made it this far ourselves, and with the help of China, we can take it forward. We're allowing about a 12-month permitting process in PNG to get our SML, which would see us having that permitting in place by the latter part of 2013, starting field work or groundwork in 2014, calendar 2014, and we're allowing a 2-year construction program. So by the end of 2015, we would see the plant commissioning, producing its first copper and molybdenum concentrates. So tight timeline, but we want to stick to it because China needs copper concentrate, and the sooner we can feed it into the system, the better it'll be for our investors, PNG as a nation, and importantly the people of the Yandra district.
We shall be back after these short messages. MRDC has been doing a lot of work in community development and education. Recently, they assisted a school in the Southern Highlands with a library. Let's have a look at what took place. The children of Tulum Primary School in the Southern Highlands province are enjoying their new library. The school has been in existence since 1962, but is still in need of assistance. There have been a number of companies, including MRDC, that have contributed to this library, and the people were very happy to receive this gift. Mr. Dixon Pombe, a former student who had visited Tulum during his holidays last year, witnessed the sad state of the primary school. So he asked the school how he could help.
Me not from the beginning of school, but me grow up here and me attend school here. Classroom me attend grade 1 level, stop la hapna. Narva time Christmas holiday me can here me login. Sore something laya, me looking plenty money smoke marijuana, plenty money drink steam, plenty merry go married nothing, can something corruption come up the place so. Me believe that me manu should go work. 1 mm contribution bumi blalo, country play me. 1 mm contribution bumi blalo, plus play me. This like an thinking questioning me na. Me decided at least me must put in some time na effort plummy long. Community play me so that you me people, you me picnic leader for tomorrow. You me can come up na sim good plus na. Look at him community play me na. Diploma him country na plus play me. Me too, me been one plus nothing picnic also you plus in the Naya. But me come up later and now you do think me come back later. I'm sorry one like example, challenge you.
Mr. Pombe asked MRDC and other companies for assistance. MRDC pitched in 100,000 kina to assist Tulum Primary School, as this is where MRDC's managing director, Mr. Augustin Mano, received some of his primary education.
We felt that Tulum Community School required a library, and Mr. Augustin Mano saw the need for a library in Tulum, in the main district of Southern Highlands Province. And then we have built a classroom for them, for the community school. This is where Mr. Mano actually did his grade 1, and we thought it was better, and then we give something back to the community.
The library will be the heart of the school. The school's head teacher, Mr. Martin Taulo, is concerned about the children's language development, and he wants to encourage students to read and improve their understanding of the English language. He has 32 years of experience behind him and has noted that this issue needs addressing, and a library will assist in a large way.
The learning of the children is very poor because of this reform. Encourages the children to start from the basic of language, speaking their vernacular language, where now we see that library will help the children now at this time to help them improve their learning. Most of these children, they don't do their work, they don't understand to read because according to the reform, they start from the vernacular in the elementary. So when we teach us in the primary school, we try to teach them in English. It's hard for them to understand what we are doing. So library is a very big thing which helps the children, that the teachers will make sure that the library will be used to help the children who are very poor in reading now at this stage, when we see that, and the library is now one of our main tools to improve the reading skills and understanding skills of the child or of the children of this school and this community.
With the growing social problems in the area, it's time to start teaching at home. Former student Mr. Pombe also asked the parents to take on the responsibility of teaching their children at home.
You your first teacher, no can blame him, no can sell a picnic come to school now. Blame him teacher, and I think it was a miracle back on here. You yet must teach him picnic play the place. Talk about no can smoke marijuana. Talk about no can drink steam. Talk about no can support in politics man around the car blogging. You teach him good because you got plain blogging. Why you carry him? You like him come up, some plug and picnic, some plug and man. You like him drive him car one more time. You like him sleep like a house one more time. So.
But this is not all that he is asking for from the community. He believes that it is time to recognize the rights of women and treat girls and boys as equals.
Okay, important thing I'm also mipla sambla line mipla thing also maski mipla sidan mipla complain to mas long all Sunday no go straight long all road bagrap all service no come good complain but don't give 1 plus something. At least you may try moving 1 plus something 2 past them. As inspector talked, plan this struggle stop budget go straight. All leaders are neglecting all school picnic in our classroom. Whether lo papa nungin along kita hapol to konsem equal school education is a right, but lo lo PNG lo konsem lo school pemipla now mipla writing profile pemipla penis inspector. Okay, mipla got vision motto pemipla too. One of our motto gender equality motto pemipla. Gender equality is the 4th now. No got man sabe that this was also our school motto. So I mean also man na marry you mean equal. No got head man or no got head marry or no got big man or no got lig man. Alkata ime one kind tasola. And Tulum Community School preach him. This lakan na by me practice him this lakan. Mary must him same kind. Some also man him too. Mary too must fly him balus. Mary too must drive him highway. Mary too must come up mechanic. No Tulum no come up yet, but all that lab world. I'm come up long and you may like gets up.
Tulum Primary School has a library now and will soon fill its shelves with 12,000 kina worth of books, thanks to the kind assistance of MRDC and people like Jenny and Susan Femin. Other businesses like Pacific Tailoring are assisting with uniforms. The school itself has lasted since 1962, so they celebrate their 50th anniversary this year. And they're aiming to raise 500,000 kina, not only to throw a feast but also to build houses for the teachers.
Mipla talk finished that Mipla got 421 plus students lo here. All Papa Mama Pak so him consent lo long Piknini Blol na Mipla talk. In the next remaining 3, 4, 5 months, must look at him one per pig, so we will kill exactly 421 pigs. Now Sing group now something you may look him and preview before movie through come time also look him one blah. Something come past them this layer and now you blah look him here. True something and back come up long finish plan this play here lot time of Pignani pass him school na graduate. And 2 days all get up and blow him. You blow Papa Mama, you got Pignani lawyer, you must make sure that you look at the one blah lig pig or big blah pig. No can worry lo size blah pig. As long as you kill him lo name blah Pignani blah you, I'm important lo you me. Me yet nibla writing planting letter finish long all big man, all company, all by come inside. Now target blah me lo school. You may like make sure that at least you may raise him 500,000 or something, so that you may can work him some classroom na kind of them. You may not can wait him member to so.
The community in Tulum now have a new library and the people are quite pleased with that. Despite not being in a resource-rich area, the MRDC thinks that it's a good thing to assist this community and the organization is helping other places too.
We've given one similar project to Kagwa Herave district in the Kagwa district, which is Pakure Primary School. The similar project has been given to Campbell Community School in the Webso of the Nipa district. There's another one given to Unakos Primary School in the Lower Lai and Lower Mendi area of Southern Highlands as well. We've also donated a vehicle to Buyebi High School, which is all part of community projects which MRD is trying to reach out to the communities that haven't benefited from the projects and seeing the need and the plight of some of the people.
The children, parents, and the community are very pleased with the new library.
And I just want to take this opportunity to thank MRDC, who has a heart for these children in this area, although these communities, they don't have any minerals, but because of their heart being given to this school, they have given us this new library, which is very, I can say it's very fantastic, where it helps the children and teachers to improve the children's learning.
That concludes another evening with Resource PNG. Thank you for being with us. Do join us next week for another informative session. Please remember, if you do have any queries, do drop us an email on this email address, resourcepng@mtv.com.pg. Until then, have a pleasant evening.